Hello and welcome to In Touch with Durham County. I'm Deborah Craig Ray, General Manager of Strategic Planning Innovation. We are here via Zoom to bring you some important information to help you through these times. Our first guest for this edition is Dr. Linda Chappel, Senior Vice President, Triangle Area Child Care Resource and Referral Services. She joins us to discuss Durham Pre-K, an exciting initiative supported by Durham County Government to provide publicly funded preschool services. Donna Rewalt is the Director of Durham County Cooperative Extension. Counties have played a critical role in providing food and nutrition assistance in cooperation with community stakeholders. In addition to managing the services of her department, she has focused on food security issues during the pandemic. We'll talk to her about those efforts in our next segment. Well, hello, Linda, and welcome to our show. We're delighted that you could join us today.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
So in preparing for the show, I realized that you were with us nearly 2 years ago, way back in the spring of 2019. Certainly a lot has happened since that time, specifically a worldwide pandemic. To begin, let's recap the background of Durham Pre-K, if you would.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And I can't believe it's been 2 years. A lot of gray hair since then. Durham Pre-K is Durham County's local investment in high-quality pre-K experiences for all 4-year-olds in Durham. We're so fortunate that the county has invested in early education. Based on the recommendations from the 2018 Durham Community Early Education Task Force, Durham Pre-K was designed as a universal program. And what that means is really it's not mandatory, but it's an option for all 4-year-olds, regardless of income or any other types of status. And our primary goal really for preschool education is to support the learning and development of young children, to really improve the quality of their lives now and in the future. We know from research that high quality preschool enhances children's school readiness. And we know that by substantially supporting their early learning, it will have lasting impacts in future years. Mm-hmm. Durham's really made historic local investments in preschool services in order to open access more broadly for all children. And really, unlike some communities, the preschool program in Durham does not target any one particular group or income. That universal program really works to support those who need it and to prevent any type of segregation of lower income and higher income families into different centers. You know, since I was here 2 years ago, Durham Pre-K has set out really to improve the quality of those participating classrooms through really strong financial support. I really am excited to be here today because the Durham Pre-K application for the 2021-2022 school year opened today. It opened at 10 a.m. and includes all public preschool seats in Durham. And that includes all the Durham Public School Title I seats, Durham Head Start, NC Pre-K, and the Durham Pre-K classrooms.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So why should families apply for Durham Pre-K?
Well, Durham Pre-K, of course, is optional. But for families in Durham, it's a great option because it allows families to apply for all programs in one place. We have a single online application. The agencies work collaboratively, and that application is very easy to access. It allows you to access our high quality classrooms, and all of our teachers are highly qualified with BK license. And the Durham Pre-K program really values family engagement, strong teacher-child relationships, and that one-on-one classroom support that's so valuable. Durham Pre-K continues teacher education by providing professional development, and we provide technical assistance team members to go into classrooms to really support the developmentally appropriate activities for children in those classrooms.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, what will children learn in pre-K? Why is it so important?
Well, children learn so much during their first 5 years. Teachers expand on what children have learned at home, of course, and in their previous childcare experiences, if they had any, to prepare them for kindergarten. One main focus of pre-K is developing social emotional skills. That really lays the foundation for learning in grades K through 12. And teachers really focus on the building blocks of math, literacy, and science skills through play. Children learn through play. That's their job. And we want to assure that we provide a supportive environment for play. Families can read more about how play really emphasizes the growth of children on our website, the www.durhamprek.org. There's a whole page about why pre-K should be explored and why play matters.
Now, as a parent of a 3 or 4-year-old, can parents safely send their precious little ones to Durham Pre-K classrooms at this time?
Actually, yes. Durham Pre-K is providing both in-person for this current school year, both in-person and virtual services, depending on what parent preferences are. For the upcoming school year, we plan to provide in-person services. We will determine at a later date whether virtual will continue as an option also. But we follow all the very strong protocols recommended, and we work very closely with the North Carolina Division of Child Development and Early Education to assure that all of our programs are following all the safety protocols. We are very careful with your young children, and we really believe that in-person option is important for many families.
Yeah, that sounds good. Now, certainly while we're in this pandemic, how challenging is it for Durham Pre-K to attract and retain our high quality teachers?
We are very fortunate in Durham Pre-K. All of our classrooms are led by a BK licensed teacher, a birth to kindergarten licensed teacher from the state of North Carolina. And we have been very fortunate in the dedication of our teachers. Some teachers who don't feel comfortable or are not able to work in person are working virtually, but all of our classrooms are staffed with a highly qualified teacher. And we really want to put a big shout out to our great teachers who have worked throughout. At the end of last school year, we disbanded in-person services last school year. But during this school year, 2020-2021, we have had in-person fully as well as virtual options.
Excellent. Now, I know the commissioners, of course, have helped fund this program, and there's a vigorous process to select the highly rated childcare centers. Is that correct? And how does that work?
It is correct. And you can, again, look at that Durham Pre-K website to view all the sites. But it is a program that serves children in private child care centers, as well as in public schools, as well as in Head Start programs. It's an integrated program across all public systems. And for private child care programs, there is quite a rigorous selection process. We have an application process, an RFA that goes out, and we actually visit sites, and we use what's called the class assessment system to work with programs to provide their highest quality services. So all Durham Pre-K sites have been pre-approved. They're under contract with the county, and we have very high standards that we monitor for on a regular basis.
That sounds great. I recall when you were on before, you had one of the owners of a pre-K, a child care center on with you to sort of talk about the process they went through to get approval.
Yes, that was Ms. Brown, and she is still one of our Durham Pre-K program sites. Our goal is to have programs invest over the long term so that we don't have a lot of sites coming in and out of the program. We want to make that investment over the long term. The county commissioners have invested in high quality. We have certified technical assistance specialists who go into the classrooms to provide support for the teachers. It's not a punitive type of monitoring, it's a supportive growth model. And we want every program to use best practices recommended totally at all times in our classrooms.
Great. Now, as a practical matter, how much does Durham Pre-K cost?
Durham Pre-K is free to most families. So when you apply, if your total household income is below 400% of the federal poverty level, your family will qualify to attend with no monthly parent fee. If you are over 400% of federal poverty, there is a sliding scale fee. Now, some of you may be saying, good grief, all those acronyms, FPL, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Just as an example, a family, if you're not familiar with the federal poverty levels, 400% of the federal poverty level for a family of 4 is $106,000 a year. So if you make at or above that, then you would have a sliding scale fee for Durham Pre-K.
Mm-hmm.
You can look on our website. There's a chart there that'll give you a basic overview so that you can see how much you might pay for Durham Pre-K.
So how do you work to publicize information about Durham Pre-K?
We try to be everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
We work collaboratively with our partner agencies, Durham Partnership for Children, Durham Public Schools, Durham Head Start, and we try to be out there everywhere. You may have seen our yard signs. We have this huge ad in our public transit system on the buses, we hope you might have seen. And of course, we try to take advantage of social media, and we purchase ads. With our application opening for families for the next school year, we have a big push. Hopefully, you'll see our outreach everywhere. Durham County's been a great partner. We try to have our information at all the Durham County locations so that the public, even in this pandemic, will be able to access it. But obviously, during the pandemic, social media has become even more important to get the word out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, we're about out of time. Are there any final thoughts that you'd like to add as we conclude today?
The only thing I want to say is that our application this year is all online, and you as parents can also make an appointment for an individual session over the phone or over a computer link to get assistance to fill out that application. So don't let the application be a barrier for you. We're very excited. The online platform this year is more simple than it's ever been, and you as a family can establish an account and upload your documents to make everything really smooth. So don't forget to sign your child up. If your child's going to be 4 this fall, you want to sign up for Durham Pre-K.
Excellent. Well, we would just want to thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for all the good work that you and your team do to provide these wonderful services for our youngest residents. And we just thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. And again, a big shout out to our Durham Pre-K teachers.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. And when we return, we'll hear from Donna Rewalt with Durham County Cooperative Extension. Don't move. We'll see you on the other side.
I want all of the people who are my age to enjoy their golden years.
I mean, it just makes good sense to try to protect yourself.
I've got great-grandchildren out there I haven't seen, and I'm looking forward to that.
I'm asking my seniors and my young people to encourage my seniors and my young people to participate in this process.
What you do to keep yourself healthy helps keep your neighbor, your friends, your relatives, helps keep them healthy too.
I'm excited, relieved, and grateful. And taking the shot is what's best for all.
I encourage all of us to say, I'm not through. There are things I still have left to do, and I'm going to fight this head on. I'm going to get vaccinated.
I feel very much that this allows me to be more in control of my life, less fearful. Doesn't mean I won't wear a mask, I will.
If we take it seriously, we can be past the horrors of 2020.
If you have a spot, take your shot.
You have a spot?
Take your shot.
You have a special spot, so please take your shot.
You have a spot.
Take your shot.
Welcome back to More in Touch. We're joined today by Donna Rewalt, who is the department head for Durham Cooperative Extension. Donna, thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here, Deborah.
Well, you are quite a unique enterprise in our organization. Briefly, what does your department do?
Well, thanks for asking. I love answering this question. Durham County Cooperative Extension is a collaborative partnership between our local county government and North Carolina State University and North Carolina A&T University, which means that we bring research-based information from the university into our community and work closely with our county partners to do so.
That's great. Now, switching gears a little bit, I know Durham County has a food insecurity rate that's pretty high, a little higher than the state average. And since the pandemic developed, you've been on the Food Security Task Force. You've been working to assist families and individuals gain reliable access to quality, affordable food. If I'm not mistaken, you're the co-leader.
Yes, I am. Durham County, at the time of the start of the COVID emergency, formed an emergency operations center. And part of that emergency operations center includes having food security at the center to make sure people are healthy and well in other areas of their life and have adequate food. So I and a couple of other county employees were appointed to be a part of that work. And it's added a great deal of work onto my plate, but at the same time, it's been incredibly rewarding. And it's so important at this time because the food insecurity rate has increased with COVID.
Yes, absolutely. So who are some of the key partners helping to support emergency food insecurity?
So certainly internally, we have, I work as co-leaders for the Food Security Task Force, which we formed at the beginning of the pandemic, which includes dozens of community partners. And also, along with myself, Kelly Warnock in Public Health, and Michael Davis in Strategic Initiatives, partner to help co-lead that task force. We meet at the beginning of the pandemic weekly, and now we meet every other week to look at resources and to come up with solutions. Those partners include food pantries, organizations like End Hunger Durham, and many others who are working to get Durham families fed during the pandemic.
Now, do you only serve families with children, or do older adults also receive assistance with food?
So throughout the pandemic, we've tried to identify who is having the most challenge with food insecurity. And certainly that does include families with children. We have been very lucky in Durham in that Durham Public Schools has received the ability to feed any child from 0 to 18, which has been great. We have also invested as a county in feeding seniors. We've partnered with End Hunger Durham. We've partnered with Meals on Wheels, Eat and See, which is an effort both to feed families and also to feed seniors with home delivered meals, have been significant efforts that reach all different kinds of people.
So can you talk about some of the ways that the families have received that food? Do they have to come pick it up? Is it delivered to a central location? Operationally, how does it work?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because there's a variety of ways. I mean, one of the things we've done is we've worked with food pantry partners who often, they often have pickup services, but sometimes we have had food pantries who've had such an increase. I can think of one food pantry who went from serving around 100 people a week to serving over 600, and that created a traffic situation. So we help them address that. In other ways, we help find volunteers to actually drive meals to people. Our schools have a couple of options. So you can pick up meals at the school site daily. You can pick it up a couple of times a week and get frozen meals. And if you are in need or are transportation challenged, you can work with Eat and See and other partners to have meals delivered to you.
I know you just kind of had to adjust as we've gone along.
Yes, I think part of the challenge is monitoring exactly what's happening. I think we have been lucky in that our benefits from SNAP and other county and state and federal benefits have been increased over time, and that's been helpful, but it has not been nearly sufficient to address the need.
So we know that food insecurity threatens the fabric of a healthy society. What else is being done to support hunger relief in Durham County?
So the county, I think one of the most important things to say is that hunger was here before COVID-19, right? And I think one of the things that has happened is that the pandemic has allowed us to really bring this into focus. And so prior to the pandemic, there had been some conversations in Durham about having a little bit more of a focused effort, particularly emanating from either our city or county governments. And so some partners brought forward, again, the idea of having a food security coordinator that's embedded within the county as a way to help bring more coordination now, but also beyond the pandemic. So the county commissioners last summer authorized an amount of money to hire a food security coordinator. And we are actually in that process, working through those final stages of hiring, and hope to have an announcement about that soon. But that will be just a first step of developing a food security plan for the county and working both internally and externally with partners who are already doing a magnificent job. Our feeding partners, our food pantries, all of those folks are doing an amazing job at this time. And we want to learn and build on the systems and strengths that they have.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be a very important employee once we get that person in.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you receive funding? I mean, are there private dollars, public dollars? Can the citizens make contributions?
So I think there are a few things. I mean, the county has definitely invested some funds. So we certainly have talked to the county commissioners. We've invested in a wide variety of outreach. I think anyone can also contribute to their local feeding organizations at any time. That's always a wonderful thing to do. There's also a great need for volunteers. And I think that, so feeding people at this higher rate takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. And I think we all thought in the beginning this was a couple of months. So these operators who are doing a lot of the feeding are operating at this really high level and are doing so for now almost a year. And so we need to renew those volunteers. Students have in college have started to go back to school. Many of them provided those volunteer opportunities. We do have a Feeding Durham Together volunteer portal with a volunteer center through Hands on Triangle. And so we'd love for people to also think about volunteering as well as contributing funds. I will say we are also working closely with United Way to see if we can develop a local food fund that might help with some of those efforts. And we did focus our nonprofit food security efforts with the nonprofit funds that the county does every year on supporting nonprofit organizations who are feeding folks during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So do you accept food donations? I know we've got farmers in the area. And do you ever provide gift cards?
So those are great questions. We are not directly providing gift cards. There are some organizations that may do that. And in terms of food donations, so if you reached out to the county, we would direct you to feeding organizations who could accept those direct donations. Funds work the best because then we can focus on the food that the individuals need the most. Mm-hmm. Which I think is really helpful for people to know. So that can go a lot farther. We can buy more with those dollars when those are contributed in that way. So there are definitely those ways to contribute. And it does help, I think most of the benefits in terms of the food cards and things come through like our pandemic EBT or SNAP benefits that have been supplemental at this time. Those are benefits that are really important. They go to all families who receive free and reduced lunch. That may include families who currently receive benefits, but it also may include families who do not. So that's an important thing. And we've also been doing a lot of education around pandemic EBT and how to access that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, how do you publicize the availability of food and these programs for our residents?
So there's a couple of places where you can look really quickly. In Hunger Durham, which is one of our community partners, sponsors a food pantry list and an interactive map. That interactive map was developed with our Durham County Public Health Dine team and our City County GIS department. And that provides actual GIS specific locations about where there are different food resources. And that may include a food pantry, that may include a DPS pickup site, it may include a variety of things. So all of those things are located on the In Hunger Durham website.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think you mentioned earlier the need for volunteers. Exactly where do you need volunteers to jump in?
Well, I think when you look at the Feeding Durham Together portal, you'll see sometimes volunteers are needed just to move things around, to move those boxes, to put those cans on the shelf, to pack a bag. Some are needed to direct traffic or to hand out items at a site. Of course, all this is done with COVID safety in mind, and those things are communicated with volunteers. But I think there's a variety of things, and they can meet the needs of the volunteer as well. So whether you're comfortable working in certain environments, you can kind of look at those choices and pick something that works for you.
Well, Donna, this has been most helpful. I mean, I know a year ago we probably weren't thinking in these terms, but obviously, the pandemic has changed substantially the way we operate, the types of services that we provide as a community. And so I just want to thank you so much for your leadership role in this important program for us.
Oh, it's been a tremendous collaborative effort, and I'm really excited about the future of this work. That, we right now are very focused on this kind of emergency charity model of getting food out. We really hope to look more at the equity of our food system and at the social justice aspects of how we get food to people, how people can access food, and the choices that people have to make about food. I think there's some exciting future work ahead, and it will be great to work with community partners and have them help lead us in what needs to happen down the road.
So if people wanted to get more information, where would they go? Phone number or website?
Well, they certainly can reach out to me directly, and I think that will work. We have, I do get some inquiries about food security, and between our team, we share that information. I can connect you. We also welcome people who are directly involved with feeding Durham residents. Even if you've created your own informal effort to do that, we would love to have you as part of our food security task force. That is, a group that we have kind of made kind of an open group to people who are doing the work and participating. And we would love to have you be a part of that. And if you just send me an email, I will make sure I connect you with that group as well.
Well, very good. We'd like to thank you again so much for what you're doing, and we'll welcome you back to the show anytime.
Thanks, Deborah. Glad to be here.
Yes. Well, that wraps up today's show. We appreciate all of our guests for joining us. We appreciate you for watching. We'll see you next time on In Touch with Durham County. Cheers.